What is up, Felguardians? My name is Noodle, and welcome to another exotic weapon review. In today's video, we are going to be looking at the exotic hand cannon, the First Curse. We're going to take a look on the steps necessary to acquire the weapon, followed by an in-depth look on the weapon itself, and finally seeing how the weapon performs in the Crucible. So, let's get right down to it. How do you get the weapon? Like a few of the new exotics with the Taken King, the First Curse is acquired through a quest chain. Now this quest starts once you hit rank 5 with the Gunsmith. Our good friend Banshee44 is going to give you a quest called Imprecation. This first step is going to require you to get kills with a hand cannon with either primary or hand cannon telemetry active. Now honestly, this part of the quest does take a little bit of time. So rather than forcefully grinding it out, my personal recommendation is just go out there and kill shit. Do your daily or do some strikes and just make sure you have your hand cannon equipped with primary telemetry active. Once you're done with that, go back to the gunsmith and the next part of the quest has you wait until the next arms day.
One eternity later.
Thank you, commentator. Why is he in my video? Anyways, after you wait until the next arms day, you're gonna get the next part of the quest, where Banshee44 gives you an uncommon hand cannon called Imprecation. The next part of the quest is broken down into 3 steps. The first step of the quest wants you to infuse the weapon, which basically means it wants you to get it up to 260 light. If you don't have any spare primaries to infuse with, I recommend farming the Court of Oryx. The second part of this quest asks you to get 7 kill sprees, which is actually terrible wording considering what it wants you to do, which is go on 1 7 kill spree. Now if you're thinking what the shit, it's honestly not as bad as it sounds, because this 7 kill spree is actually done in PvE, not PvP. So fire up the Dark Beyond mission on the moon and rapidly kill 7 thralls. The only challenging part of this quest is that your hand cannon only has 6 shots, which means you have to take advantage of its triple tap perk. Now the last part of the quest is where the fun really begins. According to the text, it wants you to get a Crucible Precision kill spree. Once again, this is just terribly worded by Bungie. What the quest is actually asking you to do is to get 7 precision kills in 1 match of Crucible while using the Imprecation hand cannon. Thankfully, I was able to complete it on my second match, but if you're having any trouble with it, I'd recommend firing up a classic 6v6 match, sticking with your team, and hopefully in the process you can steal a few kills. So, after all that, you can return back to Banshee44, and as you probably would have guessed, he makes you wait until next arms day.
Tomorrow.
Really? Again? Who the hell invited this guy?
Tomorrow for sure.
Hey man, this is not cool. This is my video.
2,000 years later.
Please stop. Are you gone?
Eventually.
Are you f***ing serious? Nope, not doing this. Game over, man. Game over. Okay, the review must go on. So after you wait until next arms day, Banshee44 is going to give you the First Curse hand cannon. And I'm sure after doing all the quests and waiting for about 2 weeks, most of you guys are going to be jumping for joy at the sight of this gun. My personal recommendation is stop jumping, sit your ass down, ready a box of tissues, and get ready to wipe the tears of disappointment off your face. Now, before I get into why this gun's a complete piece of turd, let's take a look and see what this gun has to offer. The in-game description reads, "is when death becomes an afterthought." And it wouldn't surprise me if it was referencing anything this gun is shooting at. Looking at its base stats, we can see that it's a low fire rate, high impact hand cannon. Maybe something reminiscent of the Hawkmoon. However, unlike the Hawkmoon, which holds 13 shots, the First Curse only holds 8 rounds. So, for comparison's sake, I now have a clip of the Hawkmoon and the First Curse firing simultaneously right next to each other. And it's probably worth noting the First Curse fires so goddamn slow that the weapon seems to reset itself after every shot, whereas the Hawkmoon seems to kick like a wild racehorse. And I suppose that might sound pretty good, considering the weapon was designed for precision, and the entire weapon system and all its perks are designed around that. Just have a look at its first perk, Deadeye. Bonus to range, stability, and movement speeds when aiming down sights. Not bad, not bad. And at the very end, its second exotic perk, the First Curse. Precision kills while aiming down sight grant increased range and stability until the next reload. Also pretty damn good. Unfortunately though, this gun is like a sports team which looks good on paper but can never get it done in the postseason. But before I get too carried away, let's take a look and see what other perks this gun has. Down the first column we have CQB ballistics, smooth ballistics, and soft ballistics. Considering the fact that the gun resets itself pretty well in between shots, stability doesn't seem to be a huge issue. Personally, I would go with smooth ballistics for the increased range. In the second column we have triple tap, which in theory can give you 11 shots in between reloads if you land all precision shots. And finally in the third column we have quick draw, lightweight, and speed reload. And speed reload's gonna be your best option here, as you're gonna be reloading the weapon a whole lot. I'd further recommend using a pair of gloves that increases your hand cannon reload speeds as well. And just for your reference, in the clip where I'm shooting the Hawkmoon and the first curse, I have speed reload and a pair of gloves that increase my hand cannon reload speeds equipped. So now I guess the big question is, how is the first curse? Let's start off and take a quick stab at PvE. The weapon handles pretty well, and it hits really hard. And for lower end activities, such as dailies or vanguard strikes, the weapon generally performs pretty well. It makes quick work of low tier mobs due to its high impact. However, in higher end activities, such as the raid or the nightfall strikes, you're gonna find yourself constantly reloading, removing yourself from the firefight due to its low magazine size. And when you pair that with a slow reload speed, this weapon completely falls out of favor. Further, I would question why you would take this weapon over the Hawkmoon, when the Hawkmoon performs better than the first curse in pretty much every situation. And to add to that, why would you give up your one and only exotic slot, when you can use a far superior PvE hand cannon in the Imago Loop? So now let's take a look and see how this weapon is in the Crucible. I'm just gonna lay it out there, this has gotta be one of the worst weapons I have ever used, considering it's an exotic. You're gonna find yourself outclassed by pretty much every weapon firing against you. Though the weapon has the potential of two-shotting low armor hunters and low armor warlocks, and generally only requiring 3 shots to down most other guardians, its slow fire rate is gonna demand you to land consistent precision shots in order to kill the opposing guardian before he kills you. More often than not, in one-on-one engagements where the enemy guardian is firing back, you're gonna find yourself dead before you can get off all 3 shots. And just for your reference, headshots cap off at 95 damage and body shots can hit for 64, as long as you're using either CQB or smooth ballistics. One thing that's going to become very evident to you if you're using the first curse in the Crucible is that the damage drop off is very noticeable. Your damage numbers are going to be noticeably different depending on how far you are away from the enemy. Nonetheless, I will say the first curse does hit really hard, especially if you land a precision shot. Unfortunately though, the first curse doesn't feel like much of an improvement over the original Imprecation hand cannon. And if you're insistent on using a precision hand cannon, the Hawkmoon is a far superior choice. Now, I played with this weapon consistently for a lot of matches, trying to get you guys the most accurate representation of the weapon. And I can wholeheartedly say this weapon absolutely has no place in any 6v6 game mode. Even though I knew I was capturing footage for this video, I was almost reluctant to pull this weapon out, and I found myself solely relying on my sniper rifle for the entire match. Every situation I found myself in an engagement against more than one guardian, I felt completely outclassed, and my only solution was to turn the other way and hightail it the other direction. The only game mode I found this weapon marginally applicable was in Rumble, where I could have better control of my engagements. But even then, I found myself asking why I would use this weapon over numerous other primaries. In all honesty, this weapon is sitting in a weird place right now, and I believe that place is somewhere between my left and my right butt cheeks, and I feel that it was an unnecessary addition to the game. Considering the work it took to acquire the first curse, this weapon feels as underwhelming as a rare or legendary that normally would not even get a second look before dismantling. Now I know you guys are probably thinking, but Noodle, it hits hard. So does the Hawkmoon. But it's pretty good in PvE, right? Not as good as the Imago Loop, but it spins. So has the last word since year 1. Well guys, that concludes my review of the first curse. And if you guys already have the weapon, let me know in the comments below what your opinion of the weapon is. Now one more thing I want to mention is that I haven't been releasing videos too frequently, but I promise you guys I'm going to do my best to release more content more often. So if you guys did enjoy the video or found the video helpful, please remember to leave me a like, comment, and subscribe, and stay tuned for more great Destiny content. Noodle out!